Welcome to Make It Sew, a beginner sewing series by SureFit Designs. I'm Glenda, whimsically referred to as Glenda the Good Stitch. You know, as a beginner seamstress, you've embarked on a wonderful adventure of discovery and excitement and challenge and, yes, some frustration too. And why do I say frustration? Well, it's because sewing is a skill-based process. And the better you are at the skills, the more proficient you become, and, of course, the greater your reward. Throughout the last 27 lessons, I've been teaching you a lot of skills, a lot of techniques, and I've also been teaching you when you're going to sew that particular technique. In today's lesson, we're going to take a look at the actual sequencing of sewing some garments together. I've got a few examples. We're going to go over and take a look at the finished example and analyze it of what happened first. You know, with SureFit Designs, both in the two websites, surefitdesigns.com as well as the SureFit Designs Learning Center.com, we have all kinds of resources to increase your knowledge, to make your journey a much more pleasant and easy journey of becoming a proficient seamstress. In the next lesson, I'm going to go over a lot of these different resources for you and where you can find them. But today, in this particular lesson, we're looking at the sequencing of how to sew a garment together. And so you'll find in the SureFit Designs Learning Center, in the article library, a brochure that you're welcome to download. It's completely free on sewing construction steps. This is a general guideline to help you build your project up to the finished stage, no matter whether it's pants, skirts, a top, or a dress. So let's take a look at a couple of different garments now. We'll start with these pants. And these pants, as we take a look at the design features, they have darts in the front. There's also darts in the back right here. In fact, I'll just flip this over. And we also notice that there isn't a waistband on these particular pants. So when you look inside, the waist has been finished with a facing. Well, you can't sew that facing on before you get some of the other work done. And one of the things that I've talked about frequently in the previous lessons is that you're going to do as much sewing construction as you can on the piece of fabric while it's in a one-piece dimension before you start making it into a three-dimensional form. So in this particular pair of pants, you're going to sew the darts in both the front and the back first. And then one of the other lessons I showed you how to insert an invisible zipper, and so that goes in before the crotch seam can be sewn because invisible zippers are sewn into open seams. Once that's completed, then you're going to sew the inseams, you're going to sew the side seams, you're going to put one leg inside the other, and then finish off the crotch seam. Now once these seams coming up towards the waistline are done, then you can sew the facing. And of course, one of the lessons that I gave you was on sewing facings and how to make them beautiful and nice and neat. This little tab is incorporated at the same time as the facing is put on. And then very lastly, you would sew the hem. Again, that was another lesson that I talked about and gave you a number of different hem choices. And these particular instructions actually are found in the SureFit Designs designing book called Pants That Mix and Multiply. There's actually 5 different designs in there, plus a bonus pant of a yoga pant, and complete designing as well as sewing instructions are given for you. The next pair of pants that we're going to look at are these pants right here. And they actually have a high waistband. They are also found in the Pants That Mix and Multiply book. But let's analyze this. We have a fly front, and there is a high waistband now that's been sewn above the waist edge. There are belt loops. There are pleats in the front, and on the back we have darts at the back of the pants. So to construct this, when it's in its flattest form, first of all, you're going to sew the darts first, then you'll sew the pleats that are in the front, then you're going to apply the fly front. Once that's done, you'll do the inseams, you'll do the side seams, finish off the crotch curve, then you're ready to add the waistband and the belt loops. The belt loops are just little rectangles of fabric that have been sewn onto the waist edge, and then the waistband is applied. But as again, what I've commented is that the instructions for that are found in the Pants That Mix and Multiply instruction book. Now we'll go on to a couple of different styles of tops. This is a cute little Bolero jacket. When we take a look at this, and in its one-dimensional form, what would you sew first of all? Well, the darts. I did a complete lesson on sewing all kinds of different darts. These are darts coming out of the armscye. They would be sewn first. After that, you're going to sew the shoulder seam and the side seam. Now let's take a look at the way this was finished. As we open it up, the neck edge is faced at the back, the neck edge is faced at the front. It's a continuous facing that goes all the way around the hemline. And so the next thing that's going to go on to this, once shoulder and side seams are done, then you would apply the facing. And at this point, the next step would be to inset the sleeve. But notice a little design detail on here. It's got a seam going up the center of the sleeve and a little vent at the bottom. Well, that would need to be sewn first of all, then you would sew the underarm seam, and then you're going to set the whole sleeve into the armscye. And last is the application of the buttonhole and the decorative button. Where you'll find directions for doing this is in our designing book called Bodices That Mix and Multiply, or we abbreviate it as Beyond Bodice Basics. Again, there's 6 different designs that are included in the Beyond Bodice Basics book. Then we'll take a look at one last garment, and that is this t-shirt. Call it a fancy t-shirt, if you will. And here it looks a little bit more complicated than it really is. So again, let's analyze this. It has pleats, it has a shoulder piece, it has a facing, sleeves, and finished ribbing cuffs and for the hem and for the cuffs. So when it's in its flat form, you're going to, first of all, on this major body piece here, you would sew the pleats in place. Before you can put on this decorative band, you need to attach this body to the shoulder piece. So there's a seam underneath here that's sewing those two pieces together. Then the decorative band would be top stitched in place. Once that's constructed, you've now made the front of the garment. You would then sew the shoulder seams, and at that point, you would then add the facing detail. Once the facing has been put on, now you're free to sew the side seams. Then you would sew the underarm seam of the sleeve, you would set the sleeve in place, and finish it off with either ribbing or the band like I've done. Actually, this is self fabric. So as you start looking at various garments, the challenge that I will offer to you is to start looking at them and saying, what would I sew first? How would I construct this garment? And just like the skill, when you practice a skill of sewing a facing or sewing a buttonhole, the more you practice, the more you become proficient. And with proficiency comes the wonderful reward of knowing that you've sewn it together yourself and done a wonderful job. In closing, I'd just like to reinforce that SureFit Designs is dedicated to your sewing success. And in that regard, we have SureFitDesigns.com and the SureFit Designs Learning Center.com, where you're going to find all kinds of sewing resources to help you become the best and the most successful seamstress. And I know you're really going to enjoy your sewing projects as you continue with SureFit Designs. If you've enjoyed this video, and I hope that you have, And if you're not already a member of the SureFit Designs community, I do invite you to join. And you can do that in 3 easy steps. While you're in the SureFit Designs Learning Center, make sure that you sign up for the SureFit Designs newsletter, and you're going to find the sign-up form on the bottom of most of the pages in there. And number 2, if you're watching this video in YouTube, at the bottom there'll be like buttons and subscribe buttons. I certainly ask that you to participate in our YouTube channel. It's SureFit Designs. And lastly, we now have a Facebook group page, and people, seamstresses from all over the world, are interacting with one another, asking questions and showing their project work that they've done with SureFit Designs. And please make sure you join us there. It's simply SureFit Designs, it's Facebook.com/groups/SureFit Designs. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you the next time.